Hi, everyone. My daughter Ryan said that I need to give everybody a little bit more time to hop onto the live. But to be honest with you, no one has ever hopped on live. And I don't know what I would do if they did. I would probably freak out a little bit. So it's okay if you go back and watch later. Um, but that was her suggestion. So I'm going to maybe drag it a little bit longer um, to give people time to hop on. I love her. Her support has meant so much to me. She's had a lot of really good suggestions. So, all right. Yesterday we started The Enormous Crocodile, and I was reminding myself all of the creatures we've met. We know there's a crocodile who is hungry for children, and that is the only thing that he is hungry for. He met, was that the first one? No, first one was Humpy Rumpy, the hippopotamus. Then came Trunky the elephant, Mugglewump, the roly-poly bird. And where we left off yesterday, he's got an idea that has to do with some coconuts and palm trees. So let's see what the plan is. What are the clever tricks? And what does he say? We'll get to it. He took all the coconut branches and held them between his teeth. He grasped the coconuts in his front paws. Then he stood straight up in the air, balancing himself on his tail. He had arranged the branches and the coconuts so cleverly that he now looked exactly like a small coconut tree standing among all the big coconut trees. Soon, two children came along. They were brother and sister. The boy was called Toto, and his sister called Mary. They walked along looking for fallen coconuts, but they couldn't find any because the enormous crocodile had gathered them all up. "Oh, look!" cried Toto. "That tree over there is much smaller than the others, and it's full of coconuts. I think I could climb that one quite easily if you help me with the first part." Toto and Mary ran toward what they thought was a small coconut tree. The enormous crocodile peered through the branches, watching them as they came closer and closer. He licked his lips. He began to dribble with excitement. Suddenly, there was a tremendous whooshing noise. It was Humpy Rumpy, the hippopotamus. He came crashing and snorting out of the jungle. His head was down low, and he was galloping at a terrific speed. "Look out, Toto!" shouted Humpy Rumpy. "Look out, Mary! That's not a coconut tree. It's an enormous crocodile, and he wants to eat you up." Oh, no. Let's start with the picture. Humpy Rumpy charged at the enormous crocodile. He caught him with his giant head and sent him tumbling and skidding over the ground. "Owie!" cried the crocodile. "Help! Stop! Where am I?" Toto and Mary ran back to the town as fast as they could. Let's give him another look. Quite the crash. But crocodiles are tough. It is difficult for even a hippopotamus to hurt them. The enormous crocodile picked himself up and crept toward the place where the children's playground was. "Now, for clever trick number 2, he said to himself. "This one is certain to work." There were no children in the playground at the moment. They were all in school. The enormous crocodile found a big log and placed it in the middle of the playground. Then he lay across the log and tucked in his feet so that he looked almost exactly like a seesaw. When school was over, the children all came running into the playground. "Oh, look," they cried, "we've got a new seesaw." They all crowded around, shouting with excitement. I'll go first. I'll get on the other end. I want to go first. So do I. So do I. Then a girl who was older than the others said, It's rather a funny, knobbly sort of seesaw, isn't it? Do you think it'll be safe to sit on? Of course it will, the other said. It looks strong as anything. The enormous crocodile opened one eye just a tiny bit and watched the children who were crowding around him. Soon he thought, one of them is going to sit on my head. Then I'll give a jerk and a snap, and after that it will be yum, yum, yum. At that moment there was a flash of brown, and something jumped into the playground and hopped up on top of the swings. It was Mugglewump, the monkey. Run! Mugglewump shouted to the children. All of you, run, run, run! That's not a seesaw. It's the enormous crocodile, and he wants to eat you up. The children screamed and ran for their lives. Mugglewump disappeared back into the jungle, and the enormous crocodile was left all alone in the playground. He cursed the monkey and waddled back into the bushes to hide. I'm getting hungrier and hungrier, he said. I shall have to eat at least 4 children now before I'm full up. The enormous crocodile crept around the edge of the town, taking great care not to be seen. He came to a place where they were getting ready to have a fair. There were slides and swings and dodgem cars and people selling popcorn and cotton candy. There was also a big merry-go-round. The merry-go-round had marvelous wooden creatures for the children to ride on. There were white horses and lions and tigers and mermaids with fish tails and fearsome dragons with red tongues sticking out of their mouths. Now for clever trick number 3, said the enormous crocodile, licking his lips. When no one was looking, he crept up onto the merry-go-round and put himself between a wooden lion and a fearsome dragon. He sat up a bit on his back legs and kept very still, looking exactly like a wooden crocodile on the merry-go-round. Soon, all sorts of children came flocking into the fair. Several of them ran toward the merry-go-round. They were very excited. I'm going to ride on a dragon, cried one. I'm going on a lovely white horse, cried another. I'm going on a lion, cried a third one. And one little girl, whose name was Jill, said, I'm going to ride that funny old wooden crocodile. The enormous crocodile kept very still, but he could see the little girl coming toward him. Yummy, yum, yum, he thought. I'll gulp her up easily in one gallop. Suddenly there was a swish and a swoosh, and something came swishing and swooshing out of the sky. Did you guess it? It was the roly-poly bird. He flew around and round the merry-go-round, singing, Look out, Jill! Look out, look out! Don't ride on the crocodile. I don't know, or something like that. Jill stopped and looked up. That's not a wooden crocodile, sang the roly-poly bird. It's a real one. It's the enormous crocodile from up the river, and he wants to eat you up. She needs to practice. You know what? She might need a little water, too. There they go. Oh, no. Remember, he's looking for 4 children. Jill turned and ran. So did the other children. Even the man who was working the merry-go-round jumped off it and ran away as fast as he could. The enormous crocodile cursed the roly-poly bird and waddled back into the bushes to hide. I'm so hungry now, he said to himself. I could eat 6 children. Uh-oh, what happened to 5? I could eat 6 children before I'm full up. Just outside the town, there was a pretty little field with trees and bushes all around it. Place. There were several wooden tables and long benches, and people were allowed to go there and have a picnic at any time. The enormous crocodile crept over to the picnic place. There was no one in sight. Now for clever trick number 4, he whispered to himself. He picked a lovely bunch of flowers and arranged it on one side of the tables. From the same table, he took away one of the benches and hid it in the bushes. Then he put himself in the place where the bench had been. By tucking his head under his chest and by twisting his tail out of sight, he made himself look very much like a long wooden bench with 4 legs. Soon 2 boys and 2 girls came along carrying baskets of food. They were all from one family, and their mother had said they could go out and have a picnic together. "Which table shall we sit at?" said one. "Let's take the table with the lovely flowers on it," said another. The enormous crocodile kept quiet as a mouse. "I shall eat them all," he said to himself. "They will come and sit on my back, and I will swizzle my head around quickly, and after that I'll squish, crunch, gallop." Suddenly, a big deep voice from the jungle shouted, "Stand back, children! Stand back! Stand back!" The children stopped and stared at the place where the voice was coming from. Then, with a crashing of branches, Trunky the elephant came rushing out of the jungle. "That's not a bench you're going to sit on," he bellowed. "It's an enormous crocodile, and he wants to eat you up." Trunky trotted over to the spot where the enormous crocodile was standing, and quick as a flash, he wrapped his trunk around the crocodile's tail and hoisted him up in the air. "Hey, let me go!" yelled the enormous crocodile, who was dangling upside down. "Let me go! Let me go!" "No," Trunky said, "I will not let you go. We've all had quite enough of your clever tricks." Trunky began to swing the crocodile round and round in the air. At first, he swung him slowly. Then he swung him faster. Uh-oh. And faster. And faster. And faster. And faster still. Soon the enormous crocodile was just a blurry circle going round and round Trunky's head. Suddenly, Trunky let go of the crocodile's tail, and the crocodile went shooting high up into the sky like a huge rocket. Up and up he went, higher and higher, faster and faster. He was going so fast and so high that soon the earth was just a tiny dot miles below. He whizzed on and on. He whizzed far into space. He whizzed past the moon. He whizzed past the stars and the planets until at last, with the most tremendous bang, the enormous crocodile crashed headfirst into the hot sun, and he was sizzled up like a sausage. Hold on. Okay. Ooh, that is in fact how that story ends. I always like that when the kids think that's kind of a shocker. There's more information about the author and illustrator in the back. And I hope you liked that pretty quick read. Like I said, Willie will go on next to My Father's Dragon. So until next time, I hope you enjoyed.